Howdy, welcome to another episode of Canon Calls. Before we jump in, I want to remind everyone once again about the sale happening at canonpress.com, where every order over $25 shipped in the US of A gets free shipping. So toss Douglas Wilson's brand new book, The Revelation Commentary, When the Man Comes Around. Again, for the title alone, it deserves to be in your shopping cart. And pick up one more book after that, and you're practically there. And spend that shipping on a cup of coffee or a pack of sixlets, on vital, important things to the Christian life. So now that the housekeeping is out of the way, this week we chat with Canon's in-house picture maker, Forrest Dickison. This episode turned out to be one of my favorites that we've done. Forrest talks about the education of such a picture maker, gear junkies, the walking patterns of giraffes, and the best advice he ever got, including the most embarrassing story he's ever told. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please subscribe, review, share the podcast. We really appreciate it. Thanks for listening. So welcome to Canon Calls. This week is Forrest Dickison.
Thanks, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
Don't talk yet.
Oh.
Forrest, let me do the intro. Let me do the intro first.
Don't you want to hear from me? All right.
100%. So Forrest Dickison may be the sole reason that I work at Canon Press. He was the first person who saw me wandering into the warehouse in a suit jacket.
You say souk?
A suit jacket.
Okay.
A blazer, if you will, and a resume and a lost
and
look in my eye.
Yeah, don't forget that. A very dazed expression.
And Forrest Forrest jumped up from his desk
this
and
guy
said,
has no idea what he's doing.
"How can I help you?" So I handed my resume, and then he sent me over to somebody else who could take my resume. And they took my resume. I got an interview, and I just slid in, So, Forrest Dickison is the sole reason I work here, and Forrest Dickison is the illustrator for Hello Ninja. You did
Don't forget Blah Blah Black Sheep.
Blah Blah Black Sheep.
The lesser known,
but more expensive.
Yeah, what is it now?
At least almost $1,000.
Yeah, it's $1,000 on Amazon.
The out of print Blah Blah Black Sheep, which is going up at Amazon for like $779, was the last price that I saw it at. This is high stuff, dude.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't get royalties from the black market. Maybe you could sort that out.
Yeah. I'll look into that for you. So anyway, thanks for coming on the show. I'm eager to have
welcome.
you.
Yeah.
Several guests have already mentioned you in their episodes. From
Good.
Dane Wilson to Jesse Hall mentioned you.
Oh, wow.
And that's it.
Well, that's not several.
Several.
That's
I guess a couple.
Yeah.
A couple. So welcome, dude.
Thanks. It's good to be here in this little
booth.
Little box with
it's going to get warm by the time we finish.
Foam.
Yeah.
It's warm now.
Yeah. Tell us. So you're from Moscow.
Yeah, born and raised, and never left. Never lived anywhere else.
Never. Yeah.
I had the desire at one point.
The wanderlust.
The wanderlust, and just that ship has sailed. I think I'm here.
You're stuck.
Joyfully,
cheerfully stuck.
Yeah, joyfully rooted.
Yeah.
In the hometown.
So if you had a business card, what would it say under Forrest Dickison, and what do you do? Like what do you even call what you do?
That's a good question because I don't really know.
For example, Dane told us.
What did Dane tell you?
Oh no, I'm gonna forget it. It was like production. It was a VPS or something, like video production specialist.
That's what Dane does.
That's what Dane does.
Nice.
So I thought maybe
specialist.
Forrest has something pretty generic. And
when people ask me that question, I say, well, I feel like the most accessible answer, also the least pretentious, is I'm an illustrator of children's books.
Oh.
And then I say, I also, paint landscapes. If I start out with art, if I'm an artist, I've learned not to do that because it's so broad. Plus, you can't really call yourself an artist. That's just
Yeah. And you have to wonder too how much they even really care about what the next thing you're going to say
right.
is.
Artists these days, who knows what that means?
Yeah.
I was visiting my brother in Hawaii a number of years ago. An elderly lady asked me, "So, what are you doing, or what are you studying?" I was at school at the time. Well, I said I'm an artist, or I'm studying to be an artist, and she said, "Oh, well, that's nice. Maybe you can paint houses." And then left. She just walked away.
She's like, "That's really nice."
And I thought, I'll show her. I mean, my career is basically, I don't know who this lady was or is, but
I have to imagine though you'd be a force with like a roller, whether in-house or outside of a house.
Last time I used a roller, it was all wrong. I rolled too much. The paint sort of
really
got that hairy texture.
Didn't translate at all.
Yeah, it was, no.
What about just like a brush? Like I feel like maybe if you did it's
been a while.
Some edges. Yeah.
No.
Interesting.
It's all about subject matter. If the subject matter interests me, I'm all in. If not, I would rather be anywhere else.
My parents never let me paint. Anytime we painted a room, anytime we painted the house. And then the first job I got in Moscow that I did for 3 weeks, it was a guy that paid me to paint his house. I was like, man, are you sure? My parents won't even let me do this for free,
Was that on your resume when you?
It was not. It was kept it off. Yeah. So anyway, you're an artist. Maybe we could go.
An artiste.
Yeah.
That's how you say it, really.
An artiste. And I do feel like of the definitions of an art, I feel like maybe you kind of are one. You paint large canvases. You've done shows. You've done an art gallery show thing.
Yes. Several.
Do a lot of people do that? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
like
kind of a
small community though?
Small, but I don't know. Representational art has made a comeback largely thanks to a fellow named Richard Schmid.
Tell me about representation as opposed to
the junk you see and contemporary galleries, modern art, stuff like that.
So representational art would be
figurative or landscapes mostly.
Okay, landscapes.
I just stick with the landscapes.
Yeah,
and light. That's what gets me.
Clouds. Yeah,
light hitting the clouds, really bouncing all around.
Yeah,
clouds really do some funny things with light.
Please,
if you think about it.
Yeah, no, tell us about it.
So you can have a bright sunny day, and it really depends on the density of the cloud.
Okay.
So the denser, I'm just making this up. So
no, go for it.
I could be wrong, but the denser the water vapor, the more it will reflect light. So you get these so you see a white, thick, puffy cloud. It's because it's so dense. But then you can get these little, skimpy, wispy things that are these dark gray color on a bright sunny day.
Yeah.
You think, well, how does that work?
Right.
And it's because, it's basically just there's not the light just is trapped in the sort of jump. What's the word I'm looking for?
Cumulonimbus.
No, the molecules are not tightly packed enough to reflect the light, so the light just gets lost in there. So that
Yeah.
And then you have the light that comes up in like here in the fall with these brown hills and these nice puffy white clouds come scudding through, and all this brown light hits the bottom of the clouds,
scudding is
and
great.
You get it's what they do, and you get these nice like really warm bellies and nice what does it say? Light fluffy tops, warm bellies. But in the spring, for instance, when it's like all this green, you get the clouds have more traditional blue tummies.
Totally.
Yeah, for sure. So.
No, I love it.
Endlessly.
So when whether like you're driving, let's say you're driving to Spokane, and we have a lovely drive to Spokane.
We sure do.
Or maybe you're out there with your, canvas. Like, are you just like, oh, it's these guys, these old guys. Yeah, these. This is what kind of day it is.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy? What do you enjoy painting the most of those?
Either a day with thousands of distinct clouds, as they're just kind of passing through. They're like just like those white fluffy ships. Non-conforming.
You said different clouds, different.
Oh, well, distinct.
Distinct, yeah.
As opposed to just one gray overcast.
Got it.
I love that lighting situation with all the clouds, or heavily overcast, nice and moody, which can really bring out the local color of the subject matter. In sunlight, things get blown out, Yep. Yeah, you do.
100%.
100%. But, you put a nice, even vapor ceiling over planet Earth, and you can really kind of wallow in the local color of shrubs, trees, which is just, it's kind of like what the local color is. What is the color of an object under just flat white light, direct sunlight?
Okay, so one thing I talked to Dane about, and I told Dane that I think familiarity has bred indifference about Dane. He actually does. He actually does awesome stuff at what the projects he edits, and he does a great job and everything else. But as we all kind of get to know each other, it's just like, oh, that's just Forrest. That's just what he does.
Yeah.
But the thing about him is he didn't go to school.
Dane?
Yeah, for editing or anything of the sort. He kind of was just told, you should probably finish this job soon. And, he Googled how to finish this job soon, is how he did it.
Yeah.
But you're kind of unique in a few of the creatives here. You have a BFA.
I do.
You have a BFA from a local institution.
Yeah.
Even as you were just talking about all of the things, what light does, are these things you learned there?
No.
Okay.
These are things I've learned from books and the internet mostly.
Okay.
And we live in a very wonderful age. The age of the internet, which is endless information at your fingertips.
Yeah.
And so if you want to know what is light doing to that cloud, you can just Google it.
And then you do.
And let me tell you, Google will save you hundreds of years of study and headache.
And how much money do you think?
Well, how much money could you make in 100 years?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So would you, so let's just imagine there's a kid out there who wants to be an illustrator. Do you recommend going to a BFA?
It really depends. I don't know of many, well, first of all, proper art schools with talented professionals. So teachers who are working in the industry, who are teaching at the school. And then that combined with a driven student body,
okay,
could be maybe a reason to find yourself at an art school.
This is a very distinct qualification.
Very distinct, and I don't know of any that exist. One day,
Yeah.
One hopes.
Sure.
Because that sounds like a great environment, and there are plenty. But the problem is that they're so darn expensive, and you're going to be paying as much as you would pay to become, I don't know, a surgeon. A brain surgeon, and
Wow.
You're going to come away with an art degree, which nobody cares about anyways, because if you want to work at, an animation studio, it's all about the portfolio. If you want to sell work at a gallery, it's all about your portfolio. If you want to do editorial work for like the New York Times, it's all about your portfolio. So
ultimately, you would recommend
not going into massive amounts of debt.
That's a good recommendation for sure. Yeah. Dane kind of talked about a few of the things he talked about were gear junkies that I've never heard of before. But these are people who,
Me neither.
These are people who are very passionate about the newest gear and the megapixels and the this and the that's.
Oh, gear. I was thinking
gear.
like the cog with the teeth as opposed to like the tools in your belt.
No, I think this is a tool in the belt thing.
Gotcha.
But at that, they won't go do things until they have that thing.
Yeah.
It's a sort of like...
They should read Learning in Wartime by C.S. Lewis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because this is a daily struggle, the whole gear junkie thing.
Yeah.
Because I am one deep down.
Okay.
I could spend all morning buying art supplies online and then feel like I've accomplished something.
Right.
When I haven't.
Right. How about books?
Same.
Yeah.
No, books, because books are, you need tools and you need books. So you got to have them.
Right.
Rent
It
them
is
from the
that distinction, though, of like, I'm going to wait
Yeah.
to start doing this thing I need to do
Until you have the right tools.
you know, I really kind of want to read that book first, and
Yeah.
then maybe I'll.
But really, anybody who's going to do anything and really wants to do that thing will do it, whether or not they have the tools.
Yeah. Have you seen it just in your vast years and experience?
Yeah. Coming up on 27.
27, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Super old.
A couple weeks.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, don't forget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll need a TV for
Well-
the NBA Finals that might be happening.
Yeah, you're going to buy me a TV for my birthday?
I'm going to offer my apartment again for the second year in a row.
Oh, that's right. We did do that. Mhm.
Second year in a row. Forrest had his birthday party at my house last year, and and there were people that came
Cupcakes.
that arrived first that I had never met before, but I was just like, "Hey, welcome to Forrest's birthday party," and it was just fun. It was just fun. I was
I
just
don't
like,
remember
this is
that.
a good time.
I mean, I remember.
Yeah.
Anyways, what were we talking about?
So in your has there ever been somebody who wanted it so bad, like who wanted to get to point B so bad, and the reason they didn't get there was because of, gear
I mean, sure, probably. There's lots of humans, but
in general?
not that I know of.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to draw pictures, you just draw on the dirt.
Right.
And
on caves.
We have that.
Yeah.
Lots of it. What are they called? Hieroglyphs? Petroglyphs? You don't need the tools. You don't need the fancy tools. The fanciest of the fancy tools.
From point A to point B.
From point A to point B. You just start making stuff.
Right. And so maybe it would just be the gear freakdom is just another way to be lazy while maintaining a...
Well, it's like the moleskin thing. Or is it Moleskine?
No, Moleskine.
It is Moleskine.
No way, Moleskine.
They put an E on the end. I don't know why.
Did they really?
Isn't it? Or am I just wrong? Well, yeah, it's the moleskin. You buy a moleskin because you want to feel like a writer.
Yeah.
And it works.
It totally does.
I've bought several. Well, lots, actually, because I draw on them. I don't write in them.
Okay.
I do take notes in them.
Do you hold on to those?
Hmm? Yeah, I've got sketchbooks since I started.
Wow.
Well, since college.
Do they make you queasy when you look back at the old ones?
Yeah, a little bit, but also they mostly just make me laugh because
that's probably healthier.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The things that I would draw and
sure,
just what was I thinking? Or it makes me, yeah. The best was showing at the time, my fiance.
Yeah.
We got out some old sketchbooks we went through, and
this is Danielle Dickison you're talking about.
Dickison, yeah,
the star of The Hound of Heaven.
Yes. Also,
which you can now buy on iTunes.
Whatever music video that was that used.
Was there a music video?
Yeah, but I can't remember what the band was. But it's got millions of views on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah. Well, because they just licensed the Hound of Heaven.
Content. Interesting.
I can't remember the band.
Wow.
It was great.
Is it the one that's always up here with Doan?
Yeah, Darren. It was all Darren's.
Okay. Shinedown?
Shinedown.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's famous.
So yeah.
And that's your wife. And you were showing her your old sketchbooks.
Showing some old sketchbooks. I come across some creature drawing, and she discovered a whole nother side of me.
Yeah.
Whole nother. And that was a good time.
Yeah. So as far as you're concerned, if a kid is just every day drawing.
Yeah.
A drawer.
Yeah, drawer. Picture maker.
Picture maker.
That's the NC Wyeth term that I am fond of.
Who's this?
NC Wyeth.
Yeah.
Newell's Converse Wyeth.
Okay. I like
what
that
a name. The grandfather of. Oh darn. Well, there's Jamie and then there's Andrew. He's the grandfather of Jamie and the father of Andrew. Or the other way around. The Wyeth clan was.
These are famous people.
Famous artists.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. NC Wyeth illustrated all your favorite classics. Treasure Island.
Oh, wow.
Last of the Mohicans, I think he did. Which is, I don't know if that was good or not.
Yeah.
The King Arthur.
All those illustrated
now I'm trying
classics.
to remember. All those, yeah. You name one. The
Right.
Scribner's illustrated classics. Anyways, he referred to his craft as picture making.
Right.
Which I thought it felt very, well, I don't know, crafty.
Sure.
Like you're in the workshop and you're making pictures. You're not doing anything You're not Jackson Pollock struggling in the studio so that the
Oh
what's the
yeah,
word?
the tortured
The
artist.
people, the tortured artist that struggles so that the poor,
The
the
love
layman
of humanity that
doesn't
drives
have
him.
to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
No,
is
we'll
so
get to
dumb.
the artist soon because I think, Forrest Dickison maybe grew out of one of the tortured artists. Those are the rumors that I hear. But first,
What were we talking about though? Before I went off on that picture.
yeah, before you went off, I don't remember.
Me neither.
You were really on one though. So maybe we'll come back around to it.
Maybe.
So with here in Moscow and at Canon Press, we're all very concerned with content.
Very.
We're all very concerned with just the general, the morality of a piece,
The trajectory
of a piece,
the impact.
So all of that we're thinking of, but also there are creatives here that are very concerned with the medium, the mode of the content, in such a way that I sent you the Bohemian Rhapsody thing.
The how it was so poorly edited.
So poorly edited.
Yes.
Thank you, because Dane left me hanging hardcore when I tried to bring it up with him.
Did he watch it?
No. I felt terrible because I had watched it on a plane.
The film, actually. Yeah.
The film. Yeah. And I was like, man, I should have seen this. Or, basically this guy goes to great lengths to show that this is a poorly edited film. After they won the Oscar.
Yes, for editing.
So, and even just watching him unpack it, and then once you have eyes to see it, and then you watch that scene, you're just like, I feel sick.
Yeah,
I feel
you
gross.
Want to sort of take a break, lie down, throw up.
Yeah,
possibly.
Take a shower even. You're just like, man, how do I, ugh. And there's nothing, Bohemian Rhapsody or not, it could be the most Christian film of all time or whatever. It could be, the content could just be this great piece, but like that alone could ruin the content. And, everybody's sick and they're like, it seemed like a good movie, but I didn't like it, How do you watch stuff now that may otherwise, the content may be good or whatever? Are there things like when you're watching a TV show or movie, animated film especially, are you ruined? Do you know too much? Especially now, you work on Hello Ninja, which is now going to be a show at Netflix. Yeah. So now you're deep in it as far as how the sausage is made. Are you ruined? Can you enjoy anything now?
Much less. I can enjoy much less, which is a whole lot more fun in some ways.
Yeah, right.
Because you realize you're not required just because there's some nice. Maybe there's nice editing, but the script is awful. Maybe the script is great, but the editing is awful. You're not required to like the movie just because it was made with a budget of $60 million and another marketing budget of $60 million or whatever it is. There are things that I deeply care about that no one else cares about, probably. Like for example, bad animation.
Yeah, tell me about that. Because you started to ruin me on animation, but I still always have to check in. Am I right? But yeah, tell me about bad animation.
Well,
and name names, name movies. Let's ruin movies for
pretty
people.
much. Well, because I've been working on Hello Ninja, which the animation in Hello Ninja has been getting pretty awesome.
Okay.
So, but the whole contemporary or just like the current glut of children's content,
sure,
especially on Netflix, is so. Oh dear. These are the people that I'm working with.
Oh
now.
Yeah. I feel like
the animation. I mean, obviously, it's a TV budget, but it can be so stiff and wooden, and it frustrates me to no end. I don't think there's anything. Looney Tunes was probably the last really good animated show.
I don't think I've ever heard you talk about that.
I don't know.
Looney Tunes. Yeah. Okay.
That was like golden age of animation for television. And then everything else just drives me nuts. Like limited animation, which is, you see the characters just stuck there and their mouth is drawn away, and it's just that annoys me a lot.
Yeah.
I mean,
compare and like, so for example, when you're saying it's not doing it's frustrating because it's not getting to this point. Like what are you contrasting it with? That's the frustrating thing.
Just life. If animation, because animation is not just moving an object from A to B. It's breathing life. It's animating. You're literally,
there it is.
There it is. You're animating life. And if and life is, physical life is just a constant reaction to gravity. In a lot of ways. That's what a walk cycle is. It's a controlled fall, You're just propelling yourself forward and then just falling and catching yourself, falling and catching, falling and catching. And it's like handwriting. Everybody has a unique walk cycle and everybody carries himself differently. It's like facial features or your voice or, the things that make you you. Right. Like the ingredients that God put into the pot and when he,
and stirred it
up.
Yeah. Shaken.
And then dumped it out, put it, whatever. So the physical, when the physics are incorrect in animation, it really bugs me. So,
which beyond just like, pulling up your, poking your glasses up all the way to the tip of your nose, like it's physics. You just made, this is how like God made the world.
God made the world in order that the world will one day harmonize. So this is what a Chesterton thing. Poetry, he called poetry like one of the most fundamental mediums of reality, because any art or any poetry in that case is ultimately meant to harmonize, to rhyme, to have this sort of completeness about it. So with poetry, if a line rhymes really well, what he said is your kind of your gut or your heart gets the idea that something has been said before it has even actually been said. So you feel it before you can understand it with your brain. So same thing with good animation. You feel it in the gut that it's like, that was correct. It was a dance that was highly choreographed and well performed, and it feels right.
There's a fittingness to it.
Yep. It harmonizes with reality, with and it's so fun studying motion. Everything or anything organic moves in arcs. So you never see, and nothing organic is going to move in a right angle, like the dance, the robot.
Yep.
That's why it looks so funny, is because it's all acute, very geometric movement. But versus a cheetah chasing down lunch or a ballet dancer, whatever it is, those arcs, you track the tip of a foot. It's always an arc. It's always, and the more coordinated, the more graceful somebody is, the more mathematically pleasing their arcs are.
So those feet are not just
Yeah, no. So poor animation is, okay, well, I have to walk this person from this side of the screen to that side of the screen. So I do, left foot is just move it up in front of the right foot, move the right foot up in front of the left foot. But that's not at all.
That's not how people,
That's not how people walk. It's not how life looks or works or feels. So
I feel like it's not the giant that somehow always makes it into a film who, when they walk, it's always this very exaggerated, So basically, people to enjoy good animation, do I need a physics degree?
No, you just need to be a human being on planet Earth.
Right.
With a set of eyes in your head. But I think poorly executed animation, this is just a theory because we don't really know yet, because we've only been ingesting bad animation for
last century at least.
Well, not even that. The last, 50 years, especially the last 20, especially the last 10. There's nothing. Yeah. It's so hard to find. I'm just talking about television right now.
Got it.
Features. It's amazing what they can do.
Right.
But if your child is constantly watching bad animation, it's like watching SpongeBob SquarePants. I know it just makes you dumber.
Yeah.
The bar is so low and it just doesn't correspond with reality. It's just obviously, you don't want to be a snob.
Sure.
And not.
Yeah. So even you could say, even if this was the most VeggieTales.
Sure.
or better. Let's even think more Christian than VeggieTales. But just something that was just such the content is so, the script or whatever, everything seems like, no, that's a great show that I want my kids watching.
Mm-hmm.
You would say, if it's executed poorly with animation, it's doing something to your kid that you couldn't quite put your finger on.
Maybe.
Maybe.
It depends on how
This is a
bad.
theory, right?
It's a theory. Yeah. I mean, if it's a good show with good content and the animation is bad, I'm the only one in the room that's really going to care. But just because I care, I want other people to care too.
Yeah.
Because it's, the dog that just ran across the screen was floaty and anatomically incorrect, and it was just so bad. And why do we have to listen to what that dog says if it's like
not even real?
Not even real.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
So you said, so basically all it takes is you got to be a human being, and then you have to have a pair of eyes in your head.
Yeah.
So the last part seems like the big qualifier to anybody listening. How would you go about being that kind of person? Like, how did you learn to see those kind of things? Was it always something you did, or you went to Logos school? Maybe you had a good teacher.
Yeah, definitely. A classical education helps a lot.
Okay.
Because that's kind of the goal of a classical education, is learning how to see things critically, kind of walk them back, find out where they came from, all that sort of stuff. So, but if you don't have a classical education, you can still learn. The biggest thing is getting to know God, not as abstract God or some emotional, I don't know, sort of
heartthrob,
but as a person, who has tastes and who has opinions that are always right, and getting to know him by reading his word and then studying giraffe walk cycles,
So you're saying,
which is very interesting, by the way. There's a website dedicated to quadrupedal walk cycles.
Really?
Yeah, and there are so many different kinds. Like a trot,
who
a canter,
who is hunting these things down? Are these illustrators?
Yeah, animators.
Oh, okay.
So there's this fellow named Muybridge who was I don't know exactly when he was alive, but when the camera was developed enough for him to take still photos of people running and jumping, and he's breaking down the movements and figuring out like how exactly is like what's going on when somebody just walks down the street or somebody jumps or a horse is galloping,
Right.
So you see like these old paintings and the horses are just splayed out 2 feet to their, the front hooves are forward, the back hooves are back, and they're like chasing the hounds, and it's wrong. But they didn't know that until Muybridge, at least I think it was Muybridge, that actually broke down the horse run cycle. Yeah. And and there's always a foot. And if you're galloping, you can have all 4 hooves off the ground. But you're never they don't run like those old paintings would show. But
so okay, so real quick though, when I'm in the Bible and I just
the walk cycles are perfect.
I track through the New Testament in a summer, say. So what kind of thinking does it take to get to here's what God thinks about this animation trailer? Or does God have feelings about does he have opinions on these things? And if he does, can Forrest know him?
Yeah. And I don't think there's a thing that exists that he doesn't have an opinion about. I mean, he made it.
Sure.
And he's speaking it into existence. So, but
it's beyond. You mean beyond? I made it, and therefore it's good, and so pretty much, I'm good with what's all going on here because
the I in that case being Forrest Dickison or
no God. Beyond. I'm saying he has opinions beyond just like, yep, I made it and it's good, but he has opinions on like further than that.
Is it faithful?
Is it faithful?
I think that's the distinction that Nate has made is it faithful or not? And that's I think it goes back to his grandpa Jim as well. It's all about obedience, and you're either being obedient or not. You either should be what you're doing right now, or you shouldn't be.
Even napping.
You either should be napping or you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So same thing with trailer. There's obviously a lot more decisions that go into it.
Yeah.
But you want the overall trajectory to be God honoring in every aspect. And one thing too is that God is much less of a snob than we are. So, he's willing to
tolerate
some very busted tools.
Yeah.
Us, for instance.
Right. So it is a tightrope. Because I feel like it's almost the equivalent of like the Calvinist cage stage. You start to see stuff and then you're just irate.
Yeah, which is a gift. So it's a grace to be able to see at all. Yep. Even just, what color the flower is.
Right.
But a grace to be able to see why the flower is that color, or a grace to be able to see what's going on.
Yep.
It's all grace. And so it's really easy to, once you see something, to get on your little soapbox and just make sure everyone else feels really stupid for not seeing it.
Right.
And what you're seeing could actually, it's like could
100%.
Actually be true. 100%. But, you don't want to be the guy who's just
ruining days,
given, the biggest birthday present and then gets annoyed at everyone else because their present's not as big or they haven't got it yet, whatever it is,
Yeah.
Like the 5-year-old that's like, yeah, I'm 5 and you're only 4. So get on my level.
So you have a wife.
I do.
How many of her loves have been crushed by Forrest Dickison?
Oh, man.
A few.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I got to be honest. I've worked here for the last 3 years. I just don't tell anybody what my loves are anymore. I'm kidding. Yeah. But yeah, it's
there's definitely been some times where I have, you have so much nostalgia built up for some show or book or whatever.
Right.
And you don't want to not like it.
It's no longer under the critical guise of does it do this and this, it's beyond criticism, you put it on a shelf, which may be called idolatry.
Maybe. But it depends. I mean, you can see it for what it is, but at the same time, you can look back and say, well, God used this terrible piece of art.
Sure.
And it worked out, Right. I wouldn't do the same thing again.
Right.
I wouldn't show the movie to my kids or have them read that book, but somehow it worked out.
Yeah. So you have a daughter, speaking of kids.
Yeah.
Lilius. What will her library look like, even just in the next 2 years?
Great question. Well, right now it's a lot of Hello Ninja. She's just about eaten
all of it.
Thoroughly consumed the first one.
Okay.
We've got some backups.
So blah blah's next.
Blah blah Hello Ninja. She's 9 months old, so
right.
The concept of character and stories,
the arcs
are a ways off.
Yeah.
I feel like we're all about colors and shapes right now.
Okay.
We have this book called it's called Quack Quack, I think. And each page has if it's a chick, it has some nice fuzz that you can feel.
Okay,
the chick.
Yeah. Some texture.
The pig has this velvety nose. The iguana has this very sparkly, scaly skin. That's in a different book, actually. The lamb has, wool. So she loves just
touching and
feeling.
Yeah.
And eating.
Okay.
Or at least tasting.
Sure.
She doesn't swallow.
Right.
A lot of stuff that she puts in her mouth.
Yeah.
We get it out of there.
So do you have a plan of because I assume you have a plan for.
Oh, sure. So I
assume you have a plan for her 13-year, as a 13-year-old.
So
here's what I want to siphon to her.
Yeah. The plan is I would like her to be a much more picky reader.
Okay.
Than I was. Picky. Actually, especially movie watcher. I was a pretty picky reader. But to do so in a way that is not obnoxious.
Right.
Unless she needs to be obnoxious.
Unless she needs to be.
But someone who can watch a film and a movie. I should stop calling them films.
Well, you're in the industry though. You're in the industry, and so
and basically, see where it's coming from, see what they're trying to say and how it's being said, and have it's freedom, the freedom to not like it.
Yeah,
because
instead of slovenly showing up, you've got your popcorn. You're in your dark room, and you're like,
you can
I just like it.
The budget is just oozing out of the screen, and it's so good.
Michael Bay is exploding that thing.
Wow,
this thing.
But someone, I want her to be able to be someone who can watch anything,
sure,
and know what's going on.
Well, do you have any titles for a 3-year-old beyond the ones that you drew? Which, no.
So
I've got some thoughts.
Oh yeah, do you?
Well, yeah, because you've been gone,
Yeah.
but I was just going to tell you, I was reading Richard Wilbur essay, random. It was just like a random Poetry's Debt to Poetry, but he kept bringing up Edward Lear.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of him?
No.
Never heard of him. But apparently he's just a prolific kids book poet.
Really?
Kind of guy. So anyway, I was just like, all right, I'm going to put that away. And then I was reading Chesterton this past weekend in, I forget what, he had an essay. So he has a quick little sketch. I guess it's not really an essay. He's got a sketch on, I think it is called The Child's Library.
Okay.
And he just talks about how it's like this whole new market and it's like this whole new idol that we have.
Yeah.
And anyway, but he brought up he's like one of my favorite people for kids, little kids, poet books is Edward Lear. So I was like,
really?
man,
well, shoot,
we got to check out Edward Lear.
Yeah, we do.
But anyway, that was, I've just been dying to tell you.
Okay.
There's only so many people with
Edward
kids
Lear.
around here,
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, I've been doing a lot of research.
Yeah.
For kids' books because I want her to have the best childhood ever.
Yeah.
Which has to involve lots of good.
Sure.
Picture books.
Do you plan on doing more of these aforementioned books?
Oh, myself?
Yourself?
Yeah.
Because now you've done a BFA.
I have.
And it should be mentioned you are now doing an MFA.
Yes.
But not
struggling through an MFA in writing.
In writing, which is different.
Very.
I'd love to. Tell me what are some
you had to bring that
major differences, if at all? What are differences? You've done the drawing and now you're doing the words. Are they the same?
No.
Okay.
Some ways yes, a lot of ways no.
Okay.
So if you're writing a scene, say,
okay,
that's very similar to storyboarding, which I've done some of. So basically being able to put yourself in a scene, spin the camera around wherever you want, low angle, mid shot, long shot, whatever it is, and visualize not just where everything is, but the light hitting the table, the main character's face, how you're going to light it, all this stuff. So that kind of thing, it translates almost 1-to-1, except for you just have to learn a new medium, which is words. So you have to just basically develop your vocabulary and know how to write a sentence. And you can, that translates pretty well. But the thing about words is, I don't know, there's just so many of them.
Yeah.
And they're also
scuttling here and there.
Scuttling, yeah. The old saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words.
I've heard it.
That is like a shield for the artistic ego.
Yeah.
Where you can paint something, and anytime you create art, you're putting yourself out there, right? Which is, can be terrifying. It's like,
devastating.
Anyone who's been to art school knows, devastating.
Right.
Put something out there and somebody rips it to shreds, and you have to learn very quickly that, my art is not me, but it is kind of. So
right.
It's you're putting something out there that you believe is, good, true, and beautiful.
Yep.
And that's, it's a tender
sure
thing. But so with painting, you can paint a landscape, a portrait, or something abstract, whatever, and put it out there. And there's this kind of protective buffer that is like, well, who knows what the artist meant? It's just picture, which is kind of a product of our relativistic culture, which is not a good thing.
And further, who knows what God thinks about it?
Yeah, who knows?
I think he probably likes it.
It's just a bunch of colors, and it's a tree. Trees.
The person who did it,
yeah,
he created them. So, man,
yeah, exactly.
I bet he likes it.
Yeah. The artist liked a tree, so he painted a tree. There's a certain level of safety there.
Yeah.
But with words, those I feel like you can't really beat around the bush too much. You're like,
we're talking the bones of the issue.
You're just talking. You got to just say it, man up, and just say it. And there's not, if you're doing your job well, it's going to be clear, and the audience is going to know what you actually meant, which means you have to know what you mean,
which is
know who you are as a character yourself. And that's, since I tried to start writing, that's like, it's like Aslan taking the skin off of Eustace. It's just like, oh man, just in the act of writing, it just feels so personal in a way that maybe drawing can.
So tell me more about it. So is it just so in the abstract? You hear people say this kind of stuff all the time. This is who I.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of that, but like, why would it be the case? Like, why is it the case that if you did a scene that, say you bring it to maybe you have a writers group, on Tuesday mornings,
full of the brightest young minds,
vibrant, destined for glory.
For sure.
When you get incinerated, why do you think it? What about that? Why is it so touchy? Why is it so?
Well, I think it is because you're putting your tastes on the table for everyone to see, and there's you can go a step further, and if you're writing like nonfiction or an autobiography, then you're putting yourself as well as you're really putting yourself out there, which you may or may not want to do depending on
the content therein,
and your life story,
yeah.
But if you experience this if you go to a movie with your friend and you both walk out of the theater and you say, I really like that, and your friend says, really? That was trash. Here's why, X, Y, and you feel stupid.
Yeah.
And so that's just, I think that's what it is.
No,
writing.
it's so funny because whatever you mentioned this, whatever you put your hand to do, there you go.
Yeah.
And so the ways that, I feel like way less qualified to talk about your paintings, but like, or what that even look like. And maybe you could tell me, but in terms of like writing a scene, the choices that I make for this character to do, or the words that I use to describe them, if I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail in the way that Jake would fail anywhere else.
Sure.
And so even in like my brief experience in attempting to do these scenes or what have you, it's just like, yeah. Why would you think that's a good idea to have him say that?
Yeah.
Even and not only that,
to write a character it's like, no, it's not me. I'm writing about a character in my story.
Right.
But it's still, you're creating everything.
And it's still, and when you fail, it's the way that you've always failed. Right. Or it's just like you've always thought that, or like your tastes are on display.
Well, yeah. And as soon as when you realize that God has a personality and he has tastes.
An objective taste.
You realize an objective taste.
Yep.
That art is not subjective.
Right.
That art is absolutely objective. It is hard, and it takes a lifetime of learning in order to be able to discern what is good or what is not. As soon as you realize that your tastes are so bad,
yeah,
then it's uncomfortable.
Can you give me an example? Because I'm, as far as a writer, Forrest, I'm tracking 100%.
Well, I'm not.
What for painting? Like, what is a way that Forrest, far in the past, I'm sure, failed in such a way that's so. This is a flaw that I need to get rid of personally.
Yeah,
and it just, does that make sense? Do you have one?
You want me to tell my most embarrassing story? Is that what this is?
That's what I'm looking for. Yeah.
There is. So when I was getting my BFA, University of Idaho, I was all I wanted to learn how to do was I wanted to learn how to paint.
Right.
Which is it's a good thing.
Totally.
I still think it's a good thing. How to mix color, how to learn about color, temperature, and form, and value, and composition, all this stuff. And so that's what I did. Is kind of on. Everyone was given their own studio space, their own. You could kind of do what you wanted. So that's the route I went, because I knew I wanted to get good at drawing a picture. But I also had, I wasn't totally clued in on the idea that you need to say something with your art. I just thought, no, I'll just draw cool stuff, maybe work, for like Disney on like an animated show or whatever it is.
Maybe if it comes out,
maybe. Yeah. So my entire objective was just to make a really good picture.
It just needs to look cool.
It just needs to look cool. So my senior show rolls around, and I painted a bunch of landscapes, and I all I wanted to do was just paint a bunch of landscapes. What I didn't know is that we were supposed to like there was a critique on the last day. I mean, I should have known this. I've been doing this for 4 years. There was a critique on the last day of the show. You hang the show up, people come, and then the couple of days later, you get there with your class and your professors, and you have to talk about what you did. And I just thought, no, we just hang it up and that's it, right? So I had put zero thought beyond what color temperature is this cloud versus that sky or this field,
Right.
That was everything. And so, this was the best lesson I took away from the University of Idaho and it was all my fault. But one of the professors asked, so what are you doing here? Like, why are you painting landscapes? And I had no idea. This
was the assignment, right?
Yeah. It's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Like cloud looks like a cloud.
Right. As you can see, the hill here
is
hilly.
It says hill.
It says hill. Yeah.
I like hills. That was the extent of my answer. Well, I just want to paint landscapes,
I like, yeah.
I said something about, folk.
Were you scrambling at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, what? You want me to talk about what this means?
In Philippians.
Something about good, think about all the things that are good, true, and beautiful.
Yeah.
But I didn't really understand it or mean it.
Sure.
I was just, I'm a Christian and, God's an artist, whatever.
He does hills.
But
I like hills.
I didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah.
And so Trevor was like, what he said, this is what he said. He said, your paintings are so good, one would hope that the artist who made them would be interesting.
Dang,
and
dude.
That is like, oh, man.
Man, that's so great.
Got me.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
It just in terms of you getting got, not into
just me getting got. So that's
wow,
what you
that's
wanted,
great
right?
stuff. Yeah, 100%.
That's what you wanted.
That's what I was looking for this whole podcast.
Me getting got.
Yeah.
And the darndest things that he's right,
Yeah.
Because I was the one doing the representational art. That's what mattered, right?
Yeah.
But it turns out it doesn't. There's just I was confusing, I think, methods for principles. The method of representational art. I need to. This is God's approved method,
right?
As opposed to the principle, which is what are you trying to say, and how are you saying it?
So, for example, I went to what I think your wife called a sip and see, where I came to your apartment.
Yes,
and I was offered wine.
Well, good for her.
Yeah,
I was there.
You were there, but you guys had put up. You were about to go to a show. You were about to do a gallery. Yeah. Yep, in Park City.
Mm-hmm.
But before you went, you guys were kind enough to throw up all the paintings you'd done, around your house.
Placed them very carefully.
Yeah,
against the walls.
And it was just a who's who of. Anyway,
Jake was there.
I was there the whole time.
Yeah,
it was a real treat for all of Moscow. And but anyway, if at the end of that I had just been like everybody, I did the ding 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 thing.
What's that?
The clinking of the glass to let everybody know it's time for me to say something important. And I just said, Forrest, I'd love to know, what are you doing with these? How would you answer?
Did this happen, or is this
no? I'm saying,
I'm
saying hypothetically
with a real story from the past.
I know. Well, I was just saying,
sure,
if we went back to that moment,
yeah.
And I just turned into your professor, because at that point you were 4 years out of school, maybe 3 years out of school.
Oh, the show, that whatever that was, yeah. Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
What are you?
2014.
What are you doing when?
Yeah, well, I've thought about it a lot since then, and basically, there's all kinds of answers. This simplest one. The simplest, if you will. Art is glorification when you get down to it, and basically, God has revealed Himself two ways. What is it? Natural, and then divine. Natural revelation being obviously nature, and so that's it's our second Bible.
Right.
We don't stand on it in the specific way we can with God's word, but He reveals Himself in His creation. And and humans have known this since they've been on planet Earth. It's that you spend time in nature. There is, you get to know God, or you get to know what He thinks about art. And so painting a landscape, you're just imitating Him. He's painting landscapes every day, building them actually, and then coloring them and lighting them and filling them with creatures. So to painting a landscape is just you're drawing attention to the landscape in order to draw attention to who made it ultimately.
Instead of flying past it at 70 miles an hour on the way to Spokane.
Right. And, and then there's that answer too, where we are in our age of distraction.
Yeah.
And I mean, this has been true of since people have been painting landscapes. Even if you're not living in an age of distraction, you paint a landscape so that we can learn to actually see the landscape. If you love the hills, you want people to see the hills. So you paint them hopefully well. I mean, you have to paint them well if people are going to see them. Right. Put it in a little frame, stick it on the wall. And that, you're glorifying what God is doing. And so, you're just pointing, basically. Big arrow.
Faithfully. Hopefully,
yeah.
No, it's awesome. Forrest Dickison. Thanks so much, man.
Jake, it's been a pleasure.
At the end of the day, be a human being, have eyeballs in your head.
Yeah.
And then you're qualified to do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. It's
Judge an animation trailer.
You, love God and do what you will, right?
Yeah. And then have opinions like God's.
And, that takes time.
It's annoying.
I've got them. I'm almost there.
Forrest has a jump on all of us by years.
Yeah.
But thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yep.